Hello and a warm welcome to another workshop about MOBOTIX Hub plugin in the version March 2024. And the newest functionality is the NurseAssist dashboard. The NurseAssist dashboard is a perfect combination to visualize the signals, the falling detection statuses of the different MOBOTIX Nurse Assistant C71 smart sensor values. As you can see here, we have 4 different rooms, and we get represented by colors the different situations of the persons, of the patients in that rooms. Now, for example, all the 4 patients in the rooms are in the bed, and the nurse got a clear overview what happens in the rooms without disturbing the privacy. The NurseAssist dashboard contains many different functionalities. The status tableau is one of them, and now if we're selecting channel by channel, we get here different icons in the lower right corner of that channel, and in the left upper corner of the channels we have different patient notes where the nurse or the operator can add additional notes about personal stuff and so on. But suddenly we received a falling detect alarm in room number 2. This is now where the nurse have to take care, and in addition we got 2 other falling alarms in 2 different rooms. Now we need to make a kind of triage, and now we're using the video component of the smart sensor to enable the video, to identify which case is now the most critical case. And now we're using the intercom functionality of the C71 NurseAssist camera and communicating with the person. Enable the audio, the micro, and say, "Hello, Mr. Rees, how are you? Please be carefully. I will be very soon at your side." Okay, I understood. You try to stand up by yourself. Carefully. May take a short rest on the seat. Maybe you have another issue with a low blood sugar. I will come soon to you. Stay there. In 1 minute I will be there. As you can see, this is a simple example how we can support the daily business of a nurse. Instead of running through the floor and checking one room to the other, we're using first the system to make here a quick support via the virtual system. Immediately the person stands up, the status has changed, but we have more functionalities. As I mentioned in the beginning of that workshop, we have the patient notes. With the patient notes we can also define to enable all patient notes for all status symbols, or only enable that for a specific channel. By clicking on the colors icons in the patient note itself, we can enable or disable the viewing of the specific node. If we're taking here the yellow node, for example, which it's mentioned here in German, there is a happy birthday celebration planned at 2 o'clock. We changed it suddenly to 3 o'clock to inform maybe the next shift that in the visitor room of that patient there will be blocked for a celebration at 3 o'clock. Small informations what we can add with the patient notes, but it's not only about personal notes, it's also about medication, about therapy, about name, about check-in date, when that person was checked into that room. All of these informations are contained in the patient notes. If we switch now to an example where the nurse have to make a tour during the night shift, instead of opening doors, switching on the lights, we're using here the virtual tour to enable the light screens and using the embedded LED ring, the LED light in each camera to see what's going on. And let us assume during that virtual tour suddenly the craftsman entering the room and want to repair the air condition. The nurse has the full control of the privacy. Then she can blur all the live streams to keep the privacy of the patients and still get a kind of overview what happens in that room. So this is possible for all channels, but this is also possible for a single channel. If they switch then back to the statuses, then we get only the status information of the different sensors. Another fantastic application is the activity report. There we have switched now to the show the timeline functionality, and now we got an overview on the timeline base when the person was in the bed. In this right upper example, we have from about 4 to 7 o'clock, the person was in the bed. It's symbolized with a green field. The purple field means the person was out of the bed. It means from 7:30 until 11:45 the person was out of the bed. And before lunch the person was getting again back in the bed. These are only some examples. There we can all see the different statuses from in bed, out of bed, in bathroom, falling, sitting on the edge, sitting on the floor, leaving the room or out of the room, can be visualized in that timeline statistic. The user can choose here a range from hour up to 6 months to get here a better overview, maybe to identify how good was the medication helps the customer to get a good sleep over the last 40 hours. Such kind of simple questions you can answer quickly with the statistics. But that timeline statistic is not the only statistic what we have built in the activity report. In the activity report we have in addition also the possibility to see what was happened in the playback, to compare different events with events which was happens in the other rooms, to get maybe an overview how stressy was the night shift when this person was falling in room number 4. But for that, of course, you need to have to enable the retention time for this specific recordings. It was not enabled in this case, but simply we double click on one of these events. You can simply switch to the playback and get then here also the historical statistical information of the different rooms. Beside the timeline, we have also a possibility to show some pie charts statistics. One of them is the duration, to see how long the person was over the last 48 hours, for example, in the bed. How long was the person out of the bed? How long the person was sitting on the edge? In addition, in this example, we have not only enabled the C71 NurseAssist with the basic Kepler detections, we have also the advanced Kepler functionalities, which provide sitting on the edge, sitting on the floor, in the bathroom, out of the room, and such things in addition. It's also be visualized in here. If we switch now the pie chart to get the count, how often the person was in the bed, how often the person was out of the room or in the bed, then we have also this state count pie chart visualization available. If it's now required to share such kind of statistical information of that specific room over a specific time, then the user can also using a print out of this specific statistic by selecting one of the channels and defining a paper printout, or he can also convert that paper printout to a PDF. If we do that here, for example, with one of that pie charts, you simply need to click on the channel, and then we're choosing here the printer symbol. And then you see, you get here a kind of printout. It shows identical what you see on the screen, and the nurse or the user has the ability to adding some user notes, overview of the last 12 hours, for example, for patient Mr. Meyer. And then you can print it out and have a kind of documentation how the medication of the new medicine that he get a better sleep was affecting or not affecting. This is one example to using here the export of statistical data. But in addition, if you want to using export data with a kind of Excel program from Microsoft Office, for example, there you can also choosing an export, and then you're getting all the three different statistic views, timeline, duration, and count, in a password protected zip file. And in this zip file then you will get also CSV files, comma separated values, which allows you to implement that, to import that in your Excel sheet to make any further statistic or analyzing of the whole situation. How that looks like, we did now the export, and we jumping now to the Explorer window, and there you see we have here a zip file, and by extracting that then we can see that we have three different CSV files: the state count, the state duration, and the timeline data CSV. All of that, it's then possible to make further progress with your Excel program to get here additional analytics out of it. I think we don't need to exercise now how that will be imported in Excel, and so we will close that for a second and jumping back to the desk client of the MOBOTIX Hub. Here with the desk client we have shown now on the right upper side that we have the global settings, and in each channel itself we have the local settings for that channel, from audio, speaker, blurring, switch between live and statistics and so on. That is possible for each channel, but in the right upper side we have the controls to control all channels which are on the screen. In my demonstration here I've used here only a quad view. That means 4 smart sensors was involved, but this is not limited to 4. That was only a small example. We have also the possibility to using here different layouts with different amounts of smart sensors. To changing that, it's the usual behavior, but before I forgot, you have seen on the right upper side shortly the inactivity counter. That it means another privacy protection. If the nurse forgot to switch it back to the status view, then the system will do that automatically after 30 seconds. Let us come back to different layouts. And here you see I have prepared here a 3x3 layout for covering 9 rooms, for example. It's the same functionality as with the quad view before. And if we're coming to the point how we can configure that, how we make from a camera layout a status tableau, that is quite simple. Right in the right upper corner there's the setup button. Let us press that again, and here we entering now the setup mode of the desk client, and in the left area of the site navigation we have then also the new item MOBOTIX NurseAssist status. You can take it, drag and drop it to one of the fields. Let us maybe clean up and start from the beginning. That you see it's an empty grid. Make a drag and drop, and then you get a new item where you can entering, for example, the room name, the room number, and then you're selecting the smart sensor, selecting the camera which is mounted in the ceiling. And then you can select, for example, C71 NurseAssist and closing the setup, and then suddenly you have your new status tableau which shows the status of the different rooms. This is step number 1 to get that ready in the MOBOTIX Hub. Step number 2 is to switching to the management client. Of course, one thing it's very important, you need to install the MOBOTIX Hub. You need to install the MOBOTIX Hub plug-in packages that you can using this additional plugins, where the NurseAssist dashboard is one of them. But after you have installed that and starting the management client, you will see on the left hand side, on the site navigation, all the different settings for all the different plugins from MOBOTIX. And if we're selecting here the MOBOTIX NurseAssist, there we can enable that functionality in the desk client. Here we can define the inactivity timeout, what you have seen 3 seconds before in the desk client, when the nurse is no longer working with the program, to keep the privacy and switch back to the status tableau, and you can decide which logs should be logged in the activity log. If we need to configure here under rules and events, that's a very important step, we need to define a new analytic event with the exact name Kepler space NurseAssist space event. that it's important, needs to be done once, that the Kepler communication with the C71 NurseAssist and the hub is working as expected. Second step is go to the menu bar, Tools, Options, and there we have some tabs where we need to configure. It's more on the right hand side. It's called here on the Analytic Events, and there we need to enable Analytic Events. The port 9090 is by default. You don't need to change it. It's will working out of the box. Keep in mind you need maybe to set up your firewall settings that this port is allowed. And the second tab here in the option dialog is the alarm events. And here you need to define the retention days, how long alarm should be kept, how long events, system, device events, hardware events, and so on should be kept in the retention, in the recording of the management server. After you did that, you have made all the steps what is required for the hub. If we take a quick look what we need to do on the camera side, on the C71 NurseAssist camera side, there we're using here the hub, and after you have installed the plugins, there is also the configuration plugin. Go to the recording server, open here the defined camera, in this case here for the first C71, and there we have a new tab, it's called Apps, and that guides you directly to the browser settings of the camera, to the app dialog, and then you can switch to the Kepler NurseAssist advanced settings in my case here. And there all what you need to do is to enable the different fault detected situations, to say I want to detect fault detected, I want to detect out of bed, I want to detect in bed, and so on. That you need to enable what you require, and then you define the communication via the MOBOTIX hub in the MOBOTIX hub analytic event. First thing is enable it. The second thing is to type in the IP address of the MOBOTIX hub server. The port, as you have seen, we have defined in the counterpart on the management client. Here it's the same default port, and very important, take the IP address from the specific camera and type that as camera name in it, and override the default value auto. After you did that, everything is fine and you can using the system. Thanks for your attention and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.